Hi, I'm Alan Hedblum. Welcome to our show, a place to feel like you belong. Today's guest is a woman who originally wanted no part of coming to America. Today, Floriza Genautis is a business owner, networker extraordinaire, soccer mom, and pillar of the Grand Rapids community, showing all of us that things certainly can change over a couple of decades. Floriza, welcome to Feel Like You Belong.
Well, thank you so much, Alan. Thank you so much for the invite.
You bet.
Yes.
Now, your mother was a very strong woman and really led your family's migration to the United States. But that was not an easy path for your family. Can you tell us about that?
No, certainly not, and I could tell you that story. It's my mom, yes, very strong woman, businesswoman that, wanted to come to the U.S. and for business opportunities, and ended up coming here and feeling the life of being here in America. And certainly it was a little difficult for her in terms of the journey, immigration laws changes, and how immigration is actually affecting us to get here.
So after she came here, she sent for you guys, applied, but that's not an easy process.
No, it took years and years. I mean, she first came to America when I was in grade 3, and I didn't get here until after college. So that was a very long process. The first, sibling that came here is my youngest brother, who ended up coming here in, grade school, and so he went to school here. My twin brothers actually came here just right after him, about a couple years later, and they were able to go to college here. So quite a different process, and I still have 2 siblings in the Philippines because the immigration and their priority levels are still.
Because they're even older than you are.
Correct.
And so eventually you miss all kinds of cutoffs because of age.
Correct.
Interesting that they would accept the younger ones earlier and then you not until after college.
Correct. It's just really immigration, your priority as you're younger and developing stages, and they take priority of younger kids coming in, and it's just the way the weight of the wait list. Yeah. Of how it is.
So what's that like for kids to have their mom thousands of miles away and just sort of waiting?
Was difficult. So it's certainly, I also in the Philippines was very family focused, family nucleus, and my mom being away for that long, really, it ended up my parents' marriage as well, and there's no such thing as divorce in the Philippines. So it was very, very difficult because none of my friends knew. So we have this 2 income from other countries. My dad is an engineer from the Middle East, and so he works there, and my mom is in the States, and so we have dollars coming in. So we never had any issues having to go to school, get the best education, but we never had my mom or my dad, growing up. So it was
So it's grandparents raising you?
It is grandparents, aunts, uncles, nannies. So I've always been surrounded by my maids. And so it was, that became my family. So it was hard.
And as I mentioned in the introduction, you initially did not want to come here. Your mom said, okay, your turn's coming up. You have an interview appointment at the embassy in Manila. And what did you do?
I skipped it. I skipped it. My grandmother told me about this interview that I have to be in the embassy, and I said, okay, sure, I'll be there. And it was close to my school. I went to Salle University in the Philippines. It was so close, and I said, I'll just go there, and don't worry, didn't show up. And so my mom found out, and tried to see what we can do to get it rescheduled. And within a week, we got it rescheduled, and my grandma watched me like a hawk, brought me there that early in the morning and went to my interview. And at that point, once your priority is approved, it is really more so a rubber stamp there. There's nothing stopping us. We weren't, immigrating to the U.S., there's no issues anymore at that point. My mom took care of the paperwork. We were just waiting for approval.
Sure.
So you just need to show up and you could be here. And 2 weeks later after that interview, I was here. So.
But you were here reluctantly.
Yes, I was.
You did not have a good attitude about that.
No. It was hard to come here. I graduated from a good school in the Philippines. I had a job waiting for me. So, I know that life there. And then I'm going to a very new culture. I graduated 20 and a degree in math computer application. I'm in Silicon Valley in California. Nobody would want to hire me because I have a degree, no experience. And it's a verifiable degree. So it was really hard journey. I worked at KFC mopping floors. I, work at the shoe store, doing, as a retail individual, and just did a lot of temporary job here and there, so that I could get employment. So it was a very difficult process, and I knew I was going to do that. So that's why I'm reluctant, because I had a cushy life in the Philippines, and then coming to the U.S., I have to pretty much work very hard from bottom up and understand the culture.
At what point did a switch flip and you say, okay, I'm here, I'm going to commit to being here? Because you really worked hard when you were a young, new immigrant.
Yes. It's actually from my brothers. My twin brothers were both here, and the first few weeks I was here, I was going to say, you know what, I think I want to just go home. I have a round trip ticket, so I could actually go home at that point. And my brothers actually said, we've been here and we're going to college. Could you stay with us? And really, they were the ones who asked me to, have an open mind and really try it out. It's not as hard as you think it is. And so they're the one who really convinced me to do this. Of course, I would not change a thing right now. I'm so happy. I have my wonderful daughter Isabel and a husband Rob, who's been, wonderful to be here. So, of course, during the journey and when you're young, it's difficult.
And speaking of Rob, in our earlier conversation, you had mentioned you were here and working very hard in your career for 10 years, getting yourself established, getting more familiar with the staffing industry, which is the industry you work in now. But then 10 years later, met Rob, got married, and decided that California wasn't the place for you.
Yes. California was a wonderful place. I mean, it's a melting pot. It really helped me jumpstart my career, but I knew the life there. It's, I'm at work by 9 because it takes you about an hour plus to get to work. And then I'm at work until midnight. I have client dinners, and I know the life in there. So when my husband and I, now my husband, started to think about what we need to do in terms of family and, raising a kid, our children at that point, we decided that Michigan was the place. And he was born and raised here. He grew up in Northwest Grand Rapids, and all his family is here. So it was so nice to actually have that nucleus again. And my, growing up in a country such as the Philippines, we're very Catholic, we're very Christian. And so, coming to West Michigan in Grand Rapids, brought me back there. It's this similar culture, religion is accepted, and, a lot more individuals practice that. And in California, I was a minority when it comes to Catholicism. So.
Okay. So we talked about your getting more experience in the staffing industry, and then when you came here, so 8 years ago, you started Management Business Solutions.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you do and really the culture that you're looking to create there.
Yes. So I've been in staffing since 1990. I started as temporary, workforce, and just through it all, just really helped build and companies for organizations in California and staffing companies in California. So when I came to Grand Rapids, I just said, you know what, it's time for me to create something that I could call my own. The culture of Management Business Solutions is a little different. Service to the community is big for us. Being able to connect to the community and have individual that's vested to the company is important to me. We have an ownership track, and just that ownership track, in fact, we have one owner right now alongside with me, so there's two of us now. I always say 49% of my company is up for grabs, so it's a 5-year track that they go through in terms of the process with us. But I love staffing. I mean, I got my opportunities given to me by doing temporary work because of the industry, because nobody want to hire me. So it was my way to saying, well, I could help other individuals like me who struggle to find a job through temporary workforce. And so that's really what got me started and got me passionate about being in staffing. I had a thick accent, I had to work on it. So when I see individuals coming from another country, I don't look at their resume like, well, you don't really have any experience that translates in the U.S. So, yeah, I look at it a little differently.
Makes you a little bit more open-minded and maybe dig a little harder for that person. Correct. Because you would walk that same path.
Correct, yeah. Yes. And it's rewarding. I mean, one of the stories I love to share is this individual who actually cleans our office, the cleaning service in our office when I was in California. And I've seen her because I'm always there until 10, 11 o'clock at night, and they would come at around 8, 9 o'clock to start cleaning, and she would be there to clean. And finally, she's like, "What do you guys do here?" I said, "Well, we're a staffing company. We find people jobs." And so she said to me, "Well, I'm going for my accounting degree." I said, "That's great. When you're done with your degree, just send me your resume." So her last day, and when she graduated, she actually put her resume in there, and she was my success story because all throughout her first job in accounting, through when I left California, she was now a controller for a tech company. It's rewarding.
Absolutely.
And seeing that journey has always been something that, you can't give a figure. There's no dollar figure to put in there. And, seeing individuals happy with their, where they're at, because you just don't affect one individual's life, you affect the family life.
Absolutely.
And some of them are individuals who's coming here, who's struggling, just like I did, from mopping floors to retail stores, commuting to San Francisco, 5-hour round trip because I didn't have a car. Those types of things are I understand that. So it's difficult, but certainly right now I go back, it wasn't that hard.
You've done it, and it's been very good for you.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
We need to wrap up here in just a second, but the final question is, for you, what creates belonging?
Actually, that first thing is acceptance, accepting that I want to be here, accepting that, this is something that, I belong to, that I want to be here. And after I accepted that I want to be in the United States, it's a lot easier to belong because, the whole family really makes you want to be here, and they make you stronger.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Floriza, it's been such a delight talking with you here today. Thank you
Yes.
so much for coming by.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You bet. For our viewers back home, stay tuned. In just a moment, we'll be coming back and sharing some tips on American English, American culture, and a little bit of American humor. Americans make a judgment about the person they meet based not only on his or her language and behavior, but also on such details as facial expressions and a perceived warmth. To ensure a first meeting with an American business person goes well, here are some basics to keep in mind. Handshaking. If your first culture does not usually shake hands upon greeting, this is an area of special importance for you. Americans are taught to believe that a firm handshake is a sign of sincerity and good character. There are 5 levels of firmness in a handshake. The first one is the dead fish. The second one is a weak handshake. The third one, a moderate handshake where you feel some resistance. The fourth one, a firm handshake. And then the fifth one is the bone crusher. Everyone needs to grip somewhere in the middle, avoiding levels 1, the wet noodle, and number 5, the knuckle grinder. It's a good idea for men to grip between 3 and 4 on the handshake scale. For women, a firmness of about 3 is considered appropriate in business contexts. In today's business world, both men and women are expected to shake hands with the hands fully engaged. That is, with the web between the thumb and the index finger touching the web of the other person. If the other person's handshake is weak or not fully engaged, it communicates to Americans a kind of reluctance or maybe disinterest in the relationship. Of course, on the other hand, the bone crusher handshake is viewed as perhaps too aggressive or maybe just a little insensitive. When meeting an American, engage in eye contact, smile, and pump the person's hand 2 to 3 times. It's about 1 second, and then let go. Occasionally, an American will hold on a little longer than this, which might be taken as an extra sign of friendliness, but too long of a grip, say over 2 seconds, can make an American feel uncomfortable. To show extra warmth or hospitality, Americans may put the palm of their left hand on the back of the person's right hand so that his or her hand is kind of sandwiched between both of their hands. This double-handed grip may last 1 to 2 seconds. Now, be careful with elderly acquaintances because an extra firm handshake may actually injure some fragile hands. I recommend you ask your American friends to test your handshake for the appropriate level of contact and firmness. A traveler stopped at a historic hotel and requested the rates for a room. A room on the first floor is $400. On the second floor, $300, and on the third floor, $200, replied the desk clerk. The traveler thought a bit, said thank you, and turned to leave. Don't you like our hotel? Asked the clerk. Oh, it's beautiful, said the traveler. It just isn't tall enough.